Scala.
Hello, this is Alexandra Talty, environmental journalist, and I'm here hosting South Fork Sea Farmers Kelp Taste Test with Scott Bluedorn, artist and wild kelp forager, and Jackie McKay, professional chef. I'm really excited about today's episode because we have tens of kelp products that we're tasting, everything from burgers to chips to seaweed salad to noodles. And we're here with Scott, who wild forages and processes kelp right off the shores of Montauk, and Jackie, who is a phenomenal healthy food chef. So we're really coming at this from a lot of perspectives. Do you guys want to share a little bit about your backgrounds with food and kelp?
I try to use the most sustainable, clean eating as possible for my clients or are very health conscious. So we're always following the newest trends and what the dietitians are saying. So really, whatever's at the farmers market's what I cook with. And I've heard that Scott is now selling his kelp at the farmers market, which is just the coolest thing because I really have only ever used kelp noodles and kombu and dashi broth. So I'm really excited to taste everything today.
Yeah, and I was first interested in kelp a number of years ago, just being around Montauk and the shores and beach combing, surfing, and I would pick up this seaweed, which I then learned about and started eating, as a matter of fact, because sugar kelp is not only delicious, it's good for the environment. It is a habitat. It's so many different things, and so it's a very interesting newer food ingredient for Western palates, but it's been such a mainstay of Eastern palates that it's cool to have this kind of reintroduced.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so let's kick things off. What if we tried the Alaskan kelp pickles? Because of all of our products, everything else is farmed, and this is probably the closest to what you find. And we could try. Do you
This
want
is
to
the
try
main kelp.
This is the main. This is farmed seaweed salad. Yeah.
Is this like kimchi?
Yeah, mixed with kimchi. So here, we'll put these here. And so these are bull kelp, which is different than what grows here. But what I think is really cool about Barnacle Seafoods is that they're indigenously owned, and then they also are the wild harvest. Which, could you share a little bit about your wild harvest techniques?
So yeah, when I harvest, I'm going out at high tide. I look in the near tidal zone where seaweed will come in with a little bit of the tide. So I'll pick it up right out of the water where it's fresh, and then I take it home as quickly as I possibly can. And then what I do is I give it multiple rinsings, and then I blanch it, and then I line dry it, just kind of like almost laundry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see that in your house.
Yeah, I wish I'll maybe put a picture in somewhere. But it's a fun process. I use it in my own home cooking, and now for those who are interested, I do have it at farmers markets, and I say this is as local a foraged product as you can find. So.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool because I think one of the things that's interesting seeing the industry develop is the differences between the wild and the farm. And I think the wild, there are issues with where you need to regulate it, because I think there've been, in the early 1900s, there were a destruction of kelp forests, but at the same time, the kind of foraging you're talking about, I think that's a really great way to connect to nature, as well as, there's a terroir, as we're calling it. Do you notice a difference between your kelp products and ones that you buy at the store?
So there is no whole leaf kelp available anywhere, at least in New York. So in New England, yes, that is the case because they've been farming it for a couple of decades now. So New York is the only kind of holdout in our region that has not set up this commercial structure to grow the kelp. So as an edible product, I don't know if I taste that much of a difference because I'm not a connoisseur with other kelps, but I will say I've had kelp in Japan. I've tasted it, Korean kelp varieties, and they're all very different. It depends on the species.
Is this sugar kelp?
So this one is bull kelp.
Is that why
I'm
it's
just
shaped
gonna
like that?
get
So this is actually the ring there. I don't know if we can get a close up. That is called the stipe. And the stipe is essentially a long stem that holds the main kelp leaf to a rock, and it's called a holdfast. It actually holds onto a rock. So that's a cross section of the kelp stipe, and now it's this awesome pickle product. And I have not actually tried these, so I'm actually pretty excited about this.
Okay,
Let's
great.
Try it. Try one.
Here, let's go.
I think it tastes just like a cucumber.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
I'm astonished by the shape. I'd love to see what it looks like originally.
Maybe a really thick, like, almost looks like a hose, like a plastic, like surgical.
So the seaweed salad
tube.
that we get at Japanese restaurants, obviously the bright green seaweed salad is totally food dye, right? And then Whole Foods started coming out with the natural one that's obviously the color of kelp.
Mhm.
And anyone who cares what they're putting in their body obviously doesn't want food coloring. So what kind of kelp is that? The stringy, obviously it's,
In most
is it
seaweed
naturally like
salads,
that? Or is it cut like that?
it's probably, yeah, it's definitely cut. It's processed.
It's
Yeah,
julienne
because
like that,
because
okay.
the kelp leaf is this long lasagna shaped kind of noodle. For sugar kelp. There's a number of different forms.
sugar
that you
kelp
can
is,
take.
That's the biggest kind of, it's very easy to farm, essentially. So, and it's the easiest to grow, like large scale. So I'd say most of the industry, I think Barnacle Foods is the only kind of kelp food product on the market that's not sugar kelp. And so I'll just walk through the menu really quickly.
it's really bubbly.
Oh wow, it's
today.
alive.
It's super
Oh,
active.
wow. Oh, that looks amazing.
I don't know.
So
You can
this
see
is,
that,
yeah, right there's,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen sauerkraut or kimchi do that.
Yeah, it's kind of erupting.
Well, that's good for your gut.
I've made kimchis and krauts with kelp in it.
With this brand, you know this
No,
brand?
I mean in my own kitchen, and I have not tried this brand. This is Atlantic Sea Farms. I think they're out of Maine, so
Yeah, they're in Maine, and they're one of the biggest,
just Maine kelp.
yeah, they work with, I think at this point, almost around 50 farmers across Maine, mostly lobster folks that have transitioned to doing kelp in the winter seasons. And they also will be trying one of their burgers.
That'd probably be delicious on a burger, right?
Yeah, we could do that. That could be really fun. Do you guys want to try this one as well?
Sure, let's do it.
Wow,
I
that
mean-
is, it's truly alive. I'm wondering where forks would be.
This is the gochujang. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be spicy, and it has daikon radish, kelp. Oh yeah, the kimchi brine. Decent amount of additives.
And so while you guys try that, I'm gonna get started on this lazy
Awesome.
sushi.
That'd be great in the sushi bowl too.
Oh yeah, we could do it.
You know what? Because it really actually, it's just like kimchi. It's just on cabbage.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
It's like a brinier kimchi.
It's so good.
Mhm.
I love that.
Okay, so I think we should give things stars as we go. So how many stars are we
That's
gonna
really
give?
good.
I mean, I would eat that whole jar.
Yeah,
Wow.
But I love kimchi.
same.
I just love anything.
And I
with
think-
sauerkraut. I love anything pickled.
They have like 3 other seaweed salads, but I feel like theirs is what's cool is you can buy it in the jar. Like a lot of the seaweed salads on the market have to be frozen, so then they tend to be more expensive, and then they're only at specialty stores. Like this, you can get at quite a few places.
Oh, good. I mean, obviously it has a shelf life and should be refrigerated. It probably was
Yes.
bubbling really heavily because it's been out of refrigeration for a little bit. But yeah, that's an easy replacement for kimchi. My clients just don't love sugar, cane sugar, so we avoid sugar at all costs.
Oh, is there cane sugar in this?
For sure. Yeah, there's sugar in everything, so that's just our biggest concern
Yeah,
when it comes to
that's funny. I've never
anything
put it
processed.
in kimchi when I make it.
Oh, really?
You don't put sugar in your kimchi.
Never.
I thought you have to like activate it.
Just kombucha.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it needs the fermentation. I guess you can absolutely add sugar to your kimchi, but you can choose not to. The fermentation in kombucha like thrives and eats off the sugar. So it can be any kind of sugar. There's now kombucha that's being used with stevia.
Yeah, well, there's probably enough sugar in the sugar kelp where you might not have to add any because there is a little, it's actually a
You were saying that
natural
the kelp
sugar.
is
That's why it's
sweet.
called sugar kelp.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so they probably don't, they probably add a little bit. But.
Are you gonna go make kimchi with your sugar kelp now?
Oh yeah, and I have done that.
You have
Oh,
done
really?
it.
Yeah,
Wait,
Where is it?
Yeah,
should have brought it.
That's okay, next
Should have
time.
let me know.
Next
Next
time.
time.
I added blue spirulina, so I made like a blue kimchi.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
gosh.
really good.
Do you sell that at the farmer's
Very
market as well?
holistic of you.
No, I don't have the wherewithal to create a facility and all that, so I make it for myself.
I think that's one of the, when I hear from
What are we doing with
folks, this is the one we're gonna put the salmon on here,
Mhm.
and then we have the, okay, I'm not gonna say it, furikake flakes with kelp, also from Barnacle Seafood. So these are all from Alaska, the Alaskan coast, and sprinkle that, and then we have some, the old school seaweed salad sheets that we can buy, which for a really long time, those seaweed snacks were like the number one kind of way that people were eating seaweed. So that's
So we're gonna go at this with some chips?
with these.
Okay. So
Yeah. And then I have some pickled ramps that I made.
That's cool.
And then
Did you pick those?
I did not pick those, but I got them at like a farmer's market. So closer, but
Here or where?
no, where I was living in Michigan. But it was this really funny, they were like ethically sourced ramps. Because the ramp world,
definitely.
it can be, which is similar, I think, to seaweed in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all trying to think more consciously about where our food is coming from, for health reasons and also ethical, environmental reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that a lot with your clients, Jackie?
I mean, everyone wants their chefs to shop at the farmer's market.
Oh, really?
Luckily, being on the East End, there's farm stands everywhere, but, when the city people come out here, they don't have the farm stands like we have. So we really, I get free range at the farmer's market, so it's just the coolest thing ever.
Who were some of your favorite producers?
I mean, I strictly shop at the Organic Green Thumb, just because they're organic, and I've known we're like third generational family friends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like our grandparents grew up together out here. So I mean, that's just I'm pretty loyal to them.
And they're like the best.
And if they don't have
I
it, then I
think.
have to go elsewhere. But I always start there.
Gotta ask for the kelp over there.
Well, they would definitely not say no to that.
Yeah. I'll talk to Jesse about it.
Yeah,
Oh, they would love that.
1000%.
So where are you selling your kelp? Which farmer's market?
So just whenever I can find enough, and just at the Springs Market with,
Okay.
and I tack on with my
Yeah, I think it
friends.
matters where you live, right? Because you just don't want to sit in traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Sag Harbor, but I just love the Springs Market so much that I'm
You go
willing
there.
to drive.
So one thing that I find really interesting about kelp, and is actually a difficulty with eating it, is it's super easy to grow. It pulls nitrogen from the water column. It takes carbon out of the atmosphere. It's like this great crop, but it's really hard to process. So it's kind of the opposite of a lot of other foods. And I think that's one thing that has prevented smaller folks from getting into the industry, unless it's similar to Atlantic Sea Farms, where there are, tons of farmers and Atlantic Sea Farms working with them on this co-op model. And then they create these huge processing centers. So could you share a little bit about your processing to kind of give, because I think most people think you're just taking seaweed and then that's it.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a little bit of processing. But so what I'm doing is very small scale. Again, I'm finding the kelp. I'm getting it home in a cooler.
Honey,
I
that's beautiful.
do a lot of washing. A quick blanch, which is something I actually saw in Japan. How they do it.
You went to Japan?
I went to Japan and saw a whole kelp, a natural kelp farm operation. So these are like offshore kelp beds, and the way that they bring it in and they dry it.
How big were they? Because that's one thing that I'm really fascinated is the scale difference between here and Asia.
They're all over the place there because it's such a massive market. So in terms of how big the farm is,
Offshore farming.
I couldn't tell you because they're they go out in little boats and then they'll farm probably a whole area of seabed. I'm not sure
Oh,
how
okay.
if it's like a leased operation or or if it's totally just like I don't know, it's a very different kind of structure.
Yeah, and also, I mean, to be fair, I do think they're kind of hard to see from the shore because they, you know, everything's growing down, right?
Yeah.
So all you're really gonna see is buoys.
Yeah,
So,
so you don't, right, so you don't see much. And that has been one sticking point of of an operation of kelp farming here especially, is there's a lot of conflicts with boat owners who don't want to see the buoys, or it's like a potential hazard, but if done in the right way, of course, and there's the great and advantageous part is that this is a
Is that
winter
what you were
crop.
thinking?
yeah.
Okay.
So kelp is grown in the winter, which is not a season for that much boating, recreational boating. So you have a November to May essentially is the growing season. So there shouldn't be as much conflict. Although there always is going to be an issue of who gets water rights and all that. So, but it's an amazing thing that is on the horizon for New York State. It's been in the legislature, I think 2 or 3 times now, and they unfortunately didn't pass it this time, but you got next legislative session to put into play this permitting structure that's going to allow for the commercial growing of kelp in New York State.
I know, that was such a bummer when Governor Hochul didn't, because, you know, I know that folks out here had been working for a really long time to try to get it passed, and it's kind of tricky because I think, you know, it was similar to oyster farming. You know, we've seen such a big boom in that once the permitting was figured out, and it really seemed to folks in the industry, you know, I think a lot of businesses were counting on that
Yeah.
passing. But I do understand.
Is this part of the reason why you guys are bringing this to everyone's attention?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you want things to change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that everyone should know about and should try to lobby for, and to tell representatives, I want to see, you know, a commercial kelp farming bill put into the legislature, and hopefully it can be passed. We do have the Shinnecock kelp farmers, which is pretty interesting.
Yes.
So, and they're allowed to do what they're doing because they're on their sovereign territory, so they're not subject to New York State laws.
So what is the market for them? Where are they selling? Who's buying?
They're mostly selling, so the other kind of big hurdle, I think, for the New York food as kelp industry, they're selling their products as fertilizer because they're really pulling a lot of things like nitrogen out of the water column.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and one of their big goals is obviously, you know, Shinnecock Nation is surrounded by water. It's, you know, under threat of sea rise, and so they're hoping to kind of clean the waterways around their nation and make it, you know, a more viable future for themselves. But right now, their like product to market, as far as I know, is a fertilizer that they're also selling at farmers markets. But I think that if it did become legal, there would be, again, the processing seems to be this big hurdle. And I do understand why, you know, people aren't quick to legislate these things because I think our waterways are so important to people out here. And
It doesn't jeopardize.
yeah, I think people just want to do it the right way.
And it should be done the right way. Fortunately, the models exist just
Is that
across.
about educating people?
Yeah.
Because it's such a new thing, so there's no rule book on it yet?
Well, there absolutely is. So
There is.
one great organization is called Green Wave, and they're in Long Island Sound, and they've been doing this for, I think, almost 10 years, and they educate people who are interested in kelp farming into their entire, they call it 3D ocean farming as like a system. So, and they grow kelp, and they grow mussels, and they grow scallops, and they're doing all these things in 3-dimensional kind of cages.
So is this done naturally offshore in our waters still?
Yeah.
This isn't farming, like don't buy the farm salmon out of
Right.
the pools. This
No.
is still
Well,
sustainable farming in our natural waters.
That's one of the concerns. So yes, right now
Weren't
it
they
is.
talking about doing something like that in Shinnecock with fish?
Yes.
Yes.
Did
So,
they?
well,
No.
No, that would be,
No,
it's
that was
That was
partially
years ago, right?
offshore. No, it was actually pretty recently. I think they haven't been able to get the permitting either. But so the one thing with is partially offshore and then partially inshore. With kelp farming, right now it's very small scale, but I think,
a little bite.
oh, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay,
This
while you
looks
talk.
beautiful. I think with kelp farming, you know, right now it is pretty small scale, but there is a fear of it becoming industrialized.
Yeah.
And, you know, places like Stony Brook have been doing really interesting studies of how if you grow kelp around oysters, it deacidifies the water around the shellfish. So this kind of like concept of 3D ocean farming could be a really great way to, you know, switch from more extractive seafood industries to things that are more beneficial to our environment and to us. But I think there's also a fear if it becomes huge, then maybe we would kind of lose those benefits, you know, similar to fish farming, you know, because I think fish farming can be really great, but as we've seen since the 1980s, it can also be really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Farmed salmon is a pretty problematic industry for a lot of reasons. So it would not be the same for kelp because there's not they're very different species clearly.
You really think that this is really different than the salmon? Kelp does not have eyes.
I guess.
I feel like that's the vegan
they're different
thing.
colors too. Thank you.
Yeah.
So is this kelp or is this nori?
So that's what I was gonna ask you guys. This is nori, right? This isn't considered kelp. So this is like more approachable for the standard American, right? The kids are eating them. My child eats them. I could eat more than one pack in one sitting for sure. So is kelp as delicious as this?
I
Could it
certainly
be?
think so.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
And it could be this
The way this
palatable
is
and
made.
soft?
Yeah. The way this is made is it's pressed into sheets, essentially like this paper.
So kelp can do this as well?
Kelp could be made
Could
in the
be.
same way.
Okay.
It's traditionally not because it's already in this paper kind of, well, in the dried form, it's like a sheet. So
So that is delicious.
it's really good.
Super good. So this is nori as well. So when kelp is advertised, is it saying, hey, I'm kelp? It's like, I'm new and try me and am I better than nori? Is it?
I think
I think they're different.
they're different. I think right now, like because so much of the seaweed market until 5 years ago in America was all nori, and it was something like 97% was imported from Asia. So, you know, nori would be great here as well. But if you're importing it, you lose this carbon footprint thing. So kelp pulls 10 times more carbon from the atmosphere than any terrestrial crop. So that's one of the interests in growing it. But if you're growing that and then you're shipping it from Asia to here, you're not getting those same like benefits.
Can I ask you, is the prerogative to grow it to reduce the carbon footprint, or is there a prerogative to grow it to also ingest it? Like, or is it just versatile and we're taking advantage of both?
It's worth looking at all of those different scenarios. Some can be used just for sequestering carbon and nitrogen. There's an idea that you take the farmed kelp and actually sink it in the deep ocean, where it will become trapped essentially for millions of years. And that's a way to actually draw down carbon from the atmosphere. So that's an interesting use case.
There's this one
This is
company,
amazing.
Running
Yeah.
Tide,
I feel
that
like I
does
live
that.
under a rock. I don't know anything about this.
No, it's just it's a really fast growing industry. Like
We can
running.
use this as a wrap for kelp burgers too.
Absolutely.
Oh, that would be
Right?
delicious. Yes. Should we get those going?
Yeah, they're out right here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm fully.
These are like hand rolls, right?
Yeah, this can be a hand roll too. This is like the, I mean, I live for sushi.
Yeah, I have to shout this out. This is the spear. Do you guys know Valentine Thomas? She's a spearfisher. And
Woman?
she does, yeah, but I feel like I
Spearfisher
should
woman?
just say spearfisher. You know, I'm trying to transition out of gendered for fishing industry. It's hard though, like lobster person, which sounds like it's a movie or
Or a person
Lost
with a
me.
lobster.
yeah, exactly. So she's a spearfisher and she does this deconstructed seaweed nori roll. So you kind of make your own, which I really
That's
dig in
where- that's
this.
where you got it.
That's where I got the idea from, but you really put the finishing, the good touches on it. So
I mean, I guess if, you know, it could be a lettuce wrap or it could be a kelp wrap.
I like that.
But I'm really curious to see where this is gonna go.
So when your clients are asking you to cook healthy things, what are some of the, like you said earlier, no sugar? What
Well,
else
very
are we?
rarely do I mean, I make everything from scratch, really, so our prerogative is clean. And a lot of the times there's, we don't know the quality of the salt, the quality of the sugar, or the quality of the oil. And
interesting.
really, that's what it comes down to, because everything's an inflammatory, right? So when it comes to buying frozen veggie burgers, or in this case, kelp burgers, I really just am quality control, right? So less is more. So I would much rather buy your kelp, reconstitute it at home, and make this from scratch. But of course, not everyone is me, and I'm obnoxious with how much I cook.
I think it's
From
great.
scratch.
I think that's
That's why
great.
people hire me.
Yeah,
but
that's what
this
you're
is-
good at. You don't need, it's not obnoxious.
But like, I don't love cooking for myself all the time. I would love to buy a good frozen product. So let's try this out. This is kelp, green chickpeas, pea protein, brown rice, ginger, sesame oil, pea starch, chickpea flour, oat flour, toasted sesame seeds, granulated garlic, nutritional yeast. I mean, this is as clean as it gets. This is Atlantic Farms.
So same as
Same as the
goat-
seaweed
the
salad.
kimchi. So they're from Maine.
So they get it. These
Yeah.
people get it.
And
Love
they've been
that.
making a lot of products, and at school every year you see new things come out.
I mean, everyone kind of.
And I think you're going to start seeing it in more and more products because it can be used almost, soy gets this bad rap, but it can be used in so many different products. So imagine this really sustainable natural product that can be grown locally that takes the place of.
So can anybody give me the nutritional? Maybe this guy can. Can you guys give me the nutritional
So it has
background
a lot
on
of-
kelp and the protein and?
To be honest, it has a lot of minerals. It has iron. It has iodine, which is
Iodine, very important.
Yeah,
and it's a
Which
great
we all definitely do not get enough of.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it has a lot of iodine. It doesn't beyond like in terms of protein and stuff. I think it has a little bit. It's
more
not.
of a mineral dense.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Not very much protein. I could be wrong about that.
Very
Yeah.
limited, but
That's okay. That's why this is mixed with
yeah, it's
chickpeas
generally
and pea
mixed with
protein.
a lot of other things, or not a lot, but it to kind of make it a full. I know. Here, let's. I'll poke around.
One interesting thing about kelp, history-wise, is that there's this theory that
It's okay. I think I finally got it.
Okay.
humans came out of Asia by following what was called the Kelp Road, because they.
Wait,
you ever heard of this?
no. What is the Kelp Road? I feel like I should have heard of this already.
So the Bering Land Bridge, bringing
Mhm.
people into North America, you had coastal people who just stayed on the coast, and that was called the Kelp Road because they could have been eating kelp as their mainstay, essentially, during the Ice Age when everything else would have been non-existent. There's no growing plants. They might have been eating kelp and hunting, whatever sea life.
So I did know that in the Americas that kelp has always been a long and indigenous food source. It was also used as insulation. In Ireland and England, they use it as for
Insulation.
cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, out here, they would use it in their houses.
Oh my gosh, I'm so about kelp.
Yeah,
now.
and actually, the famous Donegan patent. One of the big things that it stipulates on why we have beach rights is because we want the
The
English.
seaweed harvesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The English people who came, they wanted to be able to harvest seaweed,
Mhm.
and it was thought of as a right, as well as the treaties that they made with the Shinnecock and Montauk.
Yeah.
So it's always been a really big part of this area. I think it's just something that we forgot,
Yeah.
or at least some people forgot.
I think so. It's always been around, but kind of in the background, and now we get this awesome chance to look at it again and reimagine it and bring it back to the plate where it can really be so versatile. So I put kelp when I'm cooking with it. I make omelets, I do salads, I do soups.
Oh, omelets.
Yeah, it's great in an omelet. Really great. It's almost
Fresh.
like a spinach,
Fresh.
Mhm.
So what is the? That's probably just seaweed, but what is the super maitake mushroom looking red furry seaweed? Does that count? That's not kelp. That's still just
Oh,
seaweed.
sargassum.
A red one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that.
Or dulse, maybe you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Which
that
is
makes
another
more sense.
really good one.
So is kelp the only seaweed in the ocean that helps the environment, or do
I would say arguably all of them are,
Okay.
they're all habitat, they contribute to oxygenating water, like, I think what, more than half of the oxygen on the planet is really from seaweed,
Yeah.
right?
So we always talk about the Amazon rainforest, but they say that the seaweed is much bigger in terms of the impact
Yeah.
of oxygenating the planet.
So they give back a lot. It's really, I mean, I don't like to say lightly, like a miracle food. It's a miracle plant.
I'm so hyped up on kale right now, I can't even, I had no idea that this was a thing. I didn't even, before I came on the show, I didn't really do any research, I wanted to just ask genuine questions, I didn't know any of this. I mean, other than the seaweed salad at, Yamakyu, they
Which is
started,
great.
they have an incredible one there because it's not just your bright green stuff that comes out of a plastic frozen bag.
Mhm.
They're
using a number of,
rehydrate,
yeah.
you know,
It's,
that's one of-
hijiki is one of the main ones.
hijiki, yeah, I love hijiki, that's one
Yeah.
that they use.
Yeah, and that's a Pacific seaweed, so we wouldn't have that native here, but kelp goes really well with it, for sure. They make the long ribbons, and that's what you add into their hijiki.
I think part of the way that I've understood it is part of the reason why there's been this big push into kelp is it's not that it necessarily has these better nutrients than other ones. I think each kind of seaweed has its different profiles, but kelp is just ridiculously easy to grow, especially in cold waters.
And very rapidly.
Yeah,
So-
so in really cold places, like in Maine and Alaska, it will grow up to 1 foot a day.
What?
Yeah,
I've heard
so you
that.
really, I mean, I think that's like a good growing day. I don't think it's all season, but
Is this a year-round thing? Or is it growing better in the warmer waters?
in the winter.
In the
Yeah,
winter?
so
is the
here it's a
prime-
winter crop. And so the thing about where we live is this is the southernmost range for kelps. Farther south in here, you're not gonna find it, unfortunately, so.
Okay.
And due to warming waters here and in the Sound, kelp could actually be kind of in danger. So there's only one place that I collect it that I know that is somewhat abundant, and that is
And-
Montauk.
So the other place I've heard that's really great is Fisher's Island. I know that's the place where they collect a lot of the seed spores for the farming, but I think, last year, Stony Brook had been doing these kelp grow tests in the Great South Bay, and they were finding, they
Stony
thought,
Brook University?
yes, and so their marine lab, SOMAS, has been really, after UConn, they've really done a lot of work, I would say, in the kelp world, and they were very early adopters, and in the past 5 years, they started doing growth tests in the Great South Bay, and the Great South Bay is warmer, obviously, or warmer waters than Montauk, and we were really surprised to find that it grows really well in these long lines, so it doesn't grow down the same way, but it'll grow really long.
Laterally,
Yeah.
in shallow water is
And
a
it
pretty
pulls-
important finding.
Yeah, and it pulls a lot of nitrogen when it does that. So that kelp we probably wouldn't want to eat because it's cleaning our waters, but it would be great for fertilizer. And then you can put it on plants, and you're they call it a closed loop system.
What is does that have growing kelp have any effect on the regeneration of our scallops and our oysters? Wasn't there a few years ago where we didn't get any scallops? Does that have anything
Yeah,
to do
and-
with the quality of the water?
Well, even our scallops are very much in decline, so it's-
Would kelp
Since
part
the
with
80s.
growing help?
many
help?
people do think that it's gonna help, again, because it has this halo effect,
When
which
is the
has
next
been
legislation?
proven, yeah. So,
I mean,
it
this is a
helps-
huge movement, so
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
is, it
the
is,
more
yeah.
people, especially our community and the locals that know about it, the better.
Well, I urge everyone who's interested to get involved with as many local organizations as possible, South Fork Sea Farmers, Cornell
how do
Cooperative
people-
Extension,
How do people?
Yeah,
join the
they've also
petition?
been doing a lot of good work with kelp.
yeah.
Who is this?
Cornell Cooperative Extension.
How does anyone that is interested in helping get involved?
So I would start by, we could reach out to those organizations to see what some of them have great programs, right? There's a lot of things that are kind of just pilot programs now, again, because we don't have the enabling legislation. But another thing you can do is just educate yourself on the bills that are coming into the legislature, the the permitting process, so that a commercial kelp industry can be born here. as it has been operating in New England for a number of years. Tell people about it, you know, like it's an amazing opportunity, I think, for working waterfronts, for the fishing industry. It's great for fishermen who are off season. If they're not deep sea fishing in the winter, they can be harvesting kelp,
That's awesome.
growing kelp in the near shore waters.
And I also think it's just one of these cyclical things where, 50 years ago, the baymen were more inshore than offshore, right? Like they would go offshore for whaling, but that was kind of it. And now, because the fish populations have declined so much, there's not as many scallops, there's not as many clams. Everyone is focused so offshore. But if we have more things like oysters or kelp, we can kind of transition back to working waterfronts and what I think a lot of people think of as a traditional life out here.
To go back to the farming aspect, so a lot of mariculture, aquaculture, they're doing pilot programs with the kelp, and they know that there's this halo effect, right? So it's sucking up excess nitrogen, acid in the water, so it's actually higher the pH of the water. So one reason scallops may not be doing so well is because of the acidification of water. So, and that's a problem in our entire bioregion. So you have kelp in that can become a bioremediation agent, essentially.
So is this something that could have helped, like, in our hometown, like Lake Agawam, instead of?
I think, yes, but I think if they grew kelp in Lake Agawam, well, it doesn't grow really in freshwater.
Well, I'm just saying, is that something that could help
exactly, yes, totally.
There are probably other seaweeds that might be more beneficial and like suitable to lakes and ponds, because kelp is really, it's an ocean seaweed, so it's in the intertidal and it's.
If everyone's looking for a less expensive natural alternative, I mean, what could it hurt? We're not gonna eat it.
It could be piloted. It's another thing that the right program, if it comes along, if it can be funded. There's so many things that we don't know about kelp. It's like kind of where at least indigenous knowledge goes back a long, long time. But what we're doing now with our current science is kind of catching up and seeing where can we plug this in, how can we experiment with it.
Even with kelp or seaweeds have long been used as fertilizer by indigenous communities, by the farmers out here use kelp. I know the Green Thumb uses seaweeds as part of their compost. But the scientific studies, I was writing an article about kelp as fertilizer, and the scientific studies in America were so scant compared to how many companies put seaweed as a source of natural nitrogen in their products. And these are really well-known, huge organic fertilizer products like Epsom. I can't think of the names right now, but like very brand name organic ones. And there were so few studies done in America. There have been a lot more studies in Italy and as well as in Asian countries like Japan. But we really have a long way to come in terms of figuring out the best ways to use these things, what are the beneficial things, and then how can we do it in a really equitable, positive way. Now, can you share, this I think is gonna be so tasty. What are you making
So
here,
this is,
Jackie?
I was just kind of going as you guys were talking, because obviously there's other information, but I'm reconstituting or rehydrating these awesome kelp noodles, which all of the skinny mamas want to eat when they're craving pasta. There's really no taste to them. They do nothing for me. But I do crave this texture, right? Like, don't you guys sometimes just crave noodles, spaghetti?
Like that carby kind of
So
chewy.
it's just like a calorie-free, carby, chewy noodle.
It does
We're gonna do
suck
it
up
Asian.
the flavor, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do it Asian style. So you just reconstitute it in some hot water, and then we're gonna give it a good rinse, and then I'm just gonna make a quick little marinade to go with it.
Yeah, and that cooks really quick, right? It's like
Don't even cook it. It's kind of like
just you put it in hot water.
yeah,
that's
it's
it.
kind of like vermicelli noodles. You just dunk it in warm water, and it comes alive. But this is low carb, low calorie, gluten free, mineral rich, fat free kelp noodles. So I didn't know kelp could be clear though. I guess I kind of always thought.
So I think the way they make that is they take the essentially what's called alginate. It's almost like this like clear viscous fluid that is within the fronds, and then I think I'm not sure what they do, but I think it's concentrated and then put through a strainer.
So this is processed, essentially.
It is, but minimally. It's not chemically additive. It's essentially,
Right.
it's an extraction.
And what's the shelf life on this?
I think it's pretty,
Year, normal?
yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited to try these. Okay,
Me
so
too.
now that you have cooked with kelp a little bit, what are other ways you think you would use it in addition to what Scott was saying?
I mean, if it is as tender as, if it can be as tender as kale or spinach, I think it's really just about knowing how to either cook it with an acid or, you know, the right amount of heat, right? So this is mindless. This is already mindless-ish, but this is already kind of reconstituted. It still needs a little more time. But you can tell it's basically feels like plastic silicone. It's not quite there yet.
It's very
Do you want
stretchy.
it?
Yeah, these are kind of fun though.
You're fine. We're getting there. Needs a little more time.
Ooh. Do you guys want
Have
to
you had
try
them
these?
before?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
They're crunchy too.
I wonder if these could be fried. Not that that's healthy, but
I bet they could.
I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like they'd
open
be
those
good in
up.
like a spring rolls. Okay, so we're gonna try 12 Tides puffed kelp chips. Which this company, they're newer to the scene, but I feel like now I see them everywhere. So
Yeah, these are good.
I haven't
Have you had
tried
them?
them yet. Have you?
I've had this one, yeah, the sea salt.
Okay.
where are you selling? Where are they selling them? Provisions?
Where have I gotten this?
How much
I think Whole Foods.
And these are
I know Whole
vegan.
Foods
Oh, every once in a while.
when you're in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Are you still doing shows?
Oh, that's really good. The vegan cheddar. Okay, full disclosure, my cousin works for this company. But we were gonna try them anyways. So, oh my gosh, these are really good.
Yeah, you can eat a million of them.
But let's remember all this stuff always has a.
Good stuff. Cassava flour.
It's avocado oil, no sugar, cassava flour. It's actually a good product.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
good stamp of approval.
Wow, no MSG.
You know what I wanted to mention? So kelp is a good salt replacement because it's low sodium.
Totally.
Oh, that's
Right.
interesting.
Oh, the amount of iodine I saw on there was insane. Look
Yeah.
at the amount of iodine on there.
Oh yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Okay. Well then, I mean,
this is one that's good too.
150, yeah, wow.
I love that this is a clean ingredient. That this is a clean, crispy chip that you can just not feel guilty about. So few of these exist, and there's no corn. And it's
Yeah,
just-
no corn.
I mean, I love
Yeah,
that.
Some soy, I guess.
Good on them. 12 Tides. Good packaging. Good flavor.
and it's compostable too. Yeah, because I feel like, we all like to have
Love
junk
that.
foods.
I feel like this is very Scott Bluedorn art on here. Did you do this?
Maybe it could have. Yeah, I like it.
Right? It's very you.
It is.
Tell your cousin. I'll
I'll
gladly do something.
I'll let Eli know.
Oh my gosh, that'd be such a good collab. All right, so these guys are almost done. It says 6 minutes. I had to turn it down a little bit. But it's almost done. So I'm gonna quickly just make a sauce. I have a really traditional ginger dressing that I do with kale. It's almost like, it's this, but microplane, and then my sugar is maple. We don't happen to have any maple, do we?
I don't think so. Here, I'll have a poke around.
But maple's always my sugar, and it's kind of just like the best thing ever. It's basically just maple, soy sauce, rice vinegar, lime, and garlic and ginger. Super, super fine.
And
And
so- Oh, sorry.
it makes everything better.
Why do you choose maple instead of a honey
I love
or? Okay.
I
do
cook
too.
a lot. I do honey and maple. Really, I mean,
I put that
honey's my go-to. I love the flavor of maple.
Is it
And
is
I
like
like
a
it- I like it in
richer
dressing.
flavor, kind of like a deeper flavor, or?
It's just, yeah, it's rich.
I think it's also lower kind of glucose. Is that right?
Oh, interesting.
they're all different scales on the glycemic scale. A sugar is a sugar is a sugar essentially, but for me, if I'm gonna have a sugar, I do maple or honey. Coconut palm sugar, I don't even know what coconut palm sugar is, but I do love it, and it is lower in the glycemic index. Do we have any sugar?
I don't think we do.
We'll deal with that.
So,
No problem. So I'm
We
just
have-
cooking this in a little rice vinegar and soy sauce, and that's acidic. Hopefully that
That's gonna be really
cuts down the ginger and garlic intensity a little bit. We'll do some fresh lime juice, and then we'll make use of that seaweed salad, right? Make use of that for these burgers. Is there anything else you wanted to try? We could put a little bit of everything on this burger, to be quite honest.
How about the puree?
oh
Oh, how
yeah,
do you feel about that puree?
the color.
Yeah, I haven't tried
That's
it.
your sugar. That's your sugar cup.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd like to try that.
What about just putting it in the smoothie?
Yeah, yeah, right.
You want to put it in the dressing?
That would be cool.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Let's do it. Let's see.
Oh, and here, I mean, this is just
taste it
kelp.
first.
So we have iodine, potassium. Okay.
Yeah, potassium. It's high in potassium. Like bananas.
I feel like this is one of those things you give toddlers, you know?
Yeah. Right,
Or
easy.
people,
Or people who just
fully grown
really
adults who need to.
do eat those.
Where did that just go?
You're good, you're good.
It's gone.
Try that.
It's not as bad as I thought, and you're right, it is a little sweet.
Mm.
Oh, that is nice.
I was a little hesitant on that.
Some
How much do we
real-
have to make it worth something? 1 tablespoon.
Some real marijuana.
There it went. I found it.
Yeah, that's a real miroir.
Reminds me
A
almost of
real
like
what?
oyster liquor. You know,
Marijuana.
It does.
Yeah.
It's super briny.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I feel like that would be good in like
Alaska
sauces.
grown. Yeah, this could add some,
Like
to,
umami or.
almost like your clams linguine.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Right?
would be nice.
Yeah.
Instead of adding like clam juice, it's yum.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Love it.
I think kelp kind of goes with all seafood. Can be used as a bed for things, and you can steam things in it also.
Oh,
That's another
do
cool
you
thing.
do
I
that?
have, yeah. Because if you have the whole leaf, right, you can wrap meat or rice in the kelp frond, and you can steam it.
Oh, that sounds
there.
delicious.
Yeah.
Would you
Like
have
a
already?
banana leaf?
And would you have already processed it
The kelp.
when you steam it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could buy it from you at the Springs Market.
Mhm.
Go home, do like a rice.
You would reconstitute it from dry, essentially.
Okay, got it.
And then you could wrap whatever, and then you could steam it, or you could, yeah. It's amazing how many uses you can get out of it.
And so I know you're a very talented artist and you have that whole business. But if you were to want to pivot to kelp all the time, what right now would be the barriers to you doing that in New York State?
Well, the first barrier is the fact that it's unfortunately not legal to commercially to buy or to grow. So our industry is hobbled literally by the fact we don't have
Remind me.
commercial leases yet. We do have experimental leases for existing aquaculture. So that's a start, but so that would be the first thing is to tooth the
I'm adding
commercial.
more, by the way.
Yeah, all the more.
Right. Let's just go for it.
And then I would probably take a course in the kelp farming, which there's a number of people up in Maine, and there's Green Wave in Connecticut, Long Island Sound.
I think Maine Seagate also, they have like a kelp course as well.
Yeah. So, but what's really cool also about kelp farming is that it's not a whole lot of outlay in terms of equipment expense. I've heard a quote is $20,000 in a boat, and that
Yeah.
can get you started outside of the lease fees and however.
However that shakes out.
Yeah. So and really, you have buoys and you have lines and you have anchors. You have your boat, and then you have to have access to the processing facility if you're going to be doing a commercial operations. That includes the drying, the packaging, all that kind of stuff. So that infrastructure would need to be in
Can I
place.
have the plates, please?
Yes. Okay.
Alright, so I want to play this up a little.
This
A little
looks
bite.
delicious.
try chili pepper.
No, I'm gonna take one of those bags home.
Oh yeah, please do. I bought some and then my cousin heard I was doing this and they sent 12 packs, so everyone gets one.
Cool.
Where's the company based out of?
They're based out of San Francisco. And yeah, I think their farms are in Northern California, which is interesting to me because California's actually been one of the places that it's highly regulated because the Southern California kelp beds were destroyed by fertilizer producers in the early 1900s. So California would also be really good for kelp, but they are similar to New York and have been kind of holding back on the legislation.
Yeah, I know they've also been dealing with urchins.
Oh,
as a natural
yeah.
scourge, and they
What's that? What do you mean?
so sea urchins, they'll invade
They
a whole
love it.
seafloor and they'll eat the baby kelp, so it like creates these dead zones. So yeah, the urchins you can eat them for uni, I guess.
I do love that. I have to say, it's so delicious.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish that they didn't destroy the kelp forests.
Yeah, which is why they want to bring back more otters to eat the urchins so that they're not eating the kelp, right? So that's how our entire ecosystem can work. So there's a lot of imbalances that need to be brought back.
And I do think that's where, having the research at universities and having the government work with universities or indigenous communities on how we can better permit and understand that is really important because, we don't want it to be industrialized. I think that's something that is important for a lot of people in the industry. But at the same time, yeah, thinking about all the imbalances that already exist in these ecosystems, it could be a great solution. Oh, this looks so beautiful,
Yeah.
Jackie. Oh my gosh. Wow.
This is what you were envisioning.
Yes. And I have to say, I'm so impressed. You came here. No, you had some things you thought we should pick up. Most of them are here, but you really
did
roll
it.
with the punches.
You got it.
Yeah, you're very talented.
That's my job.
Yes.
You don't have
We're
to work
lucky
with
that we have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Is this going to be
So fun.
spicy?
No.
Just
But-
gingery?
You know what? We can add this yummy bukkake.
Oh yeah, the
That's
furikake.
just- I mean, we're literally gonna use
Oh,
every ingredient that we
yes.
have here.
That would be great.
I love that. And
Okay, we're gonna have so much fun.
okay.
And we can even, like, what burger doesn't need chips, right? We're gonna have the chips, we're gonna have the pickles.
Great. Oh yeah, let's do it. Should I
The
plate
kelp pickles
the
in there, yeah.
burgers?
Sure, you wanna throw some on here? Can you put them right on here?
Oh, great.
I got it. You get the forks.
Okay. Time for, this is like our ultimate kelp meal.
Sure is. I mean, I am not opposed to this meal at all. This is not, I would eat this any day.
Now, if you weren't eating kelp, you can also use it as a biofuel. Another thing we
Oh.
can do.
You're such a plethora of information.
Oh, these look beautiful.
Okay, let me finish plating this up.
Yeah, and then I think we need to show.
I sure will. Would you like a tomato?
Yes, please.
They're starting to come out of the greenhouses right now. Okay,
Wow.
what else? We're gonna do a little garnish.
Tomatoes.
Let's do pickle,
Oh yeah, get the pickles back in here.
right? Let's do some of this. Oops. Let's do. I'm going for the shot, guys.
Yes.
We're gonna
Work
do
your
some of
magic.
this kimchi yumminess.
Do you want some
Yes.
sugar coffee? And do you,
I think I'm gonna use one of the nori wraps as my.
oh, that's a nice idea.
All right. So here we have the Sea Farms burger. We have our, what kind of pickle is this?
That's the kelp
Barnacle
stipe.
Foods.
Barnacle Foods
yeah.
pickle. We have our kelp spaghetti and our kelp seaweed salad. Bon appetit, guys. Enjoy.
This looks amazing.
So yummy.
I love the cilantro too.
Does the pepper in here affect you?
Yes.
She's allergic to peppers.
Yes.
maybe it'll affect
So.
you. You love it?
Satisfying crunch.
Very good.
This
And
one?
the noodles. Wow, that is so good.
I probably should have cut it up a little.
No, I think it's. I love the cilantro in there too. I never would have thought to put that in.
Fresh herbs and everything, baby. Gotta put herbs and everything.
Oh, the burger's great.
Really good.
I love this because I try to eat mostly pescatarian, and I
Me
feel like
too.
so many of the veggie burgers on the market are just full of really bad stuff. You know, like when you're reading the box, you're like, I literally don't know what this is. And I am not like you, and as I don't know, I'm not as
Very
committed to
irking.
making things myself. I would say.
I just don't do things easy, so it's annoying, but this
That's why you're good at
this
your
is
job.
easy. This is easy, right? I mean, you guys followed that pretty easy.
Yeah, you could, if you wanted, wrap the burger
Here.
in a kelp leaf, a steamed kelp leaf.
A steamed kelp leaf, and it would be that good?
And just an extra layer of kelp if you wanted.
I'm so excited to see where this new generation of kelp is gonna go. I feel like we're gonna be eating it. This is gonna be the new thing on the burgers, on the menu at all burger restaurants next, right? You
So
want a lettuce wrap, or do you want a kelp wrap?
Oh, I love that. So, I'll try that one. Okay, we're
Thank you.
You're welcome.
nearing the end of our time here. What is everyone's favorite kelp product?
I love the seaweed salad. Oh, the seaweed salad, the kelp salad.
Yeah, I like the kimchi a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Atlantic Sea Farms really sent it.
So this was our winner.
Yeah, between the burgers and
It's
And-
also just such beautiful colors, I feel like. And very
I would
alive.
use the chips in there.
Oh, that would be really good. Yeah.
alright, we're just gonna be here eating for the rest of the day.
Yeah. I really like the noodles, I think. Because also it's just something that you could have and keep.
You know what, this does stay in the fridge for quite some time though. And it's one of those things that's marinating in it. It'll
Well-
probably just get better by the day.
Thank you both for joining me here today.
Thank
And
you.
thank you to South Fork Sea Farmers. Cheers.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys.